Hey everybody, it's Karyn Bryant for MMA Heat. I'm on vacation mode doing the podcast. How are you?
What's up, guys? It's Alan Jouban. I am not on vacation. I'm at home, just staying warm in this cold LA weather.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually had a couple of days off. Aurora had some extra days off from her school, so we came out here to Indian Wells, where we love to come, and it's great because the day we checked in on Sunday was the day everybody was checking out. So yesterday we basically had the pool to ourselves. I don't know if people can see. It's a really nice place here.
Nice.
Yeah, so we come here a lot. So anyway, Alan, for that reason, I know we'll keep it a little bit shorter this week, but I certainly want to talk to you about Michael's fight against Kelvin, and I kind of want to look ahead to some stuff. So, in a nutshell, if Michael had won that fight with Kelvin, people would have said, oh my God, what a great idea, taking a fight on such a short turnaround. You're such a badass. And we saw that it didn't go his way. I thought that was hard to see. Just because how close together those fights were, but a great win for Kelvin, who looked awesome.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the fight game too, and it's always like if you would have won or you would have done some type of low percentage crazy move and it would have landed, then you're a genius, so you're amazing. But when it doesn't work out, then people question what you were thinking. And that was the same thing for this fight. We talked about it on the last podcast. I remember speaking to you about thinking not only did emotionally did he come off of a loss, lose his belt, but he was beat up. His face was swollen. I'm sure his knuckles, maybe his ankles were sore, things like that. That kind of, even when the black eyes go away, your body still hurts for a couple weeks after a fight. Him taking another fight on 3 weeks' notice, it showed that it wasn't the right move. Obviously, he got put down pretty badly. Bisping's always a warrior, and that's what he's been known for. But you're friends with them. I'm friends with them. You don't want to see somebody later in their career taking this type of damage.
Yeah, it was tough. And Kelvin played right to Michael's weakness. I mean, you hit Michael with a left hook. He doesn't see it coming. And so Kelvin had the perfect strategy there. That was the perfect punch. A lot of time, obviously, Michael is able to survive that and can handle that weakness that he has. Obviously, he's so hyper aware of it. But yeah, in this case, Kelvin was just too fast. I think, and it's funny because we say this about Kelvin and we've seen it before. People talk about him in the gym, how he maybe isn't the hardest working guy. We know that he's had some issues with weight cutting, and then again, this time needed the towel. But I tell you what, that dude is a gamer. When it comes to fight night, something clicks with him, and he's terrific. I know he talks about he took out Vitor this year, took out Michael, and people might argue that, okay, they're on the downside of their careers, but that's an incredible thing for Kelvin, who is still so young, to be putting these names on his resume. Really, it's hard. I don't want to just say it's only because Michael was banged up. Like, Kelvin looked great.
Yeah, no, he is. And then, like you said, he's young. He's only, 26 years old?
Yeah.
He still has a long career ahead of him. And you can see his youth by the way he fights. Just watching the fight with him and Bisping looking a lot more flat-footed. Kelvin looking a lot more kind of have a spring in his step, throwing big shots. He's got that youth advantage. And if he stays at middleweight, he's still going to continue to have that speed advantage that we saw in the Bisping fight. He seemed to be, even though he's the kind of stockier guy against Bisping, he seemed to be the faster guy as well, and he used that to his advantage, getting in, getting out, getting the counter punches.
For sure. Is he even 26 yet? I feel like he's still even younger than that, which is just crazy.
I thought I saw one. I just watched the fight for the first time. Yeah. I thought it said Bisping was 38 and him being 26, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. And I don't know what's next for him. He mentioned Robert Whittaker. I have an interview up with Freddie Roach that people can see where Freddie tells me that George will defend the belt at 185 pounds, and that he believes it'll be against Whittaker. I know Kelvin was asking for Whittaker. If that doesn't happen, there's that big show in Perth, Australia. I did think something that was interesting was Chris Weidman chiming in on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this, because he said, okay, so when I beat Kelvin, he was just a glorified, bigger, 170. But when he beats other people, he's the next thing since sliced bread. Like, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Weidman's been trying to get back in the mix for a minute now. But you have to, like you said, you have to give Kelvin his props, because he's he's a gamer. He's not only winning fights, but he's putting guys away. I mean, like when Kelvin first came on the scene, he was kind of his striking was, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it was kind of sloppy. He was just kind of winging big, wide punches, kind of more known as the wrestler. He's refined his striking. He's added the power. He's got the quickness at 185. Yeah. Now he's knocking guys out, putting guys away, finishing fights early in the the fights too. He's putting guys away in first-round knockouts against these very tough guys. So he's a guy that's definitely on the rise right now. For
sure, and that's at King's MMA, doing good things. And if you remember, he did drop Weidman in their fight as well. He got out-wrestled by Chris. So, that's something Kelvin obviously still has some things he can work on. But the dude is just looking great. Couldn't be happier for him. A really great guy. This is one of those situations where, I hated to see somebody's success come at the expense of somebody else that I care about so much. But, Michael, people are like, oh, is it going to ruin his legacy? I don't think so. Michael, before he was a champion, was a man who, fought like crazy and was, some people were maybe just going to write him off as a journeyman. This is a man who just has fighting in his heart. I know people say that about a lot of other fighters as well. I don't think it takes away from his legacy. If anything, I think, you look and you see, okay, 2 back-to-back losses, what a chump. You don't see it that way. You see him as losing to arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time in George St. Pierre, and then being enough of a badass baller to be like, screw it. I'll take another one. Like, I personally don't feel like it's diminishing him. He does need to find the right person for the finale fight in London, but I don't feel Michael is is diminished in any way from that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think that you're spot on. I don't think it diminishes or tarnishes his legacy, what he's done so far to build up his name and his career. As long as he has his final fight in London, does well or not, but if that being his final fight, I think then it's fine. If he takes the route of Anderson Silva and tries to continue fighting well into his 40s, going on a 3, 4, 5 fight losing streak, not looking very good, having other issues, I think that diminishes your legacy because, not to change the subject, but Anderson Silva was a guy that I looked up to my entire career. He's always been my favorite fighter and to me the GOAT. And with that said, over the last couple of years, I feel like he's diminished what he's done, but he's worked so hard. Not only is he losing a lot of fights, not looking that good, but he's trying to keep up with the young guys at this age, and he's getting popped for taking other, performance-enhancing things. So now it's really taking away from his legacy. If he would have just retired 2 or 3 years ago, I think Anderson Silva would have been a guy that you can always look back at and say when he was in his prime, he was the best. But now people look at him later in his career and they kind of disregard that. If Michael could go and fight in London, win or lose, hang it up after that, I think everybody will still look at the success that Michael had rather than the losses at the end of his career.
I agree. Well said. And that actually is a perfect transition to talk about one of the guys fighting this weekend at UFC 218, Jose Aldo. One of my all-time favorites. People had the same conversation with him. Did that quick loss to Conor McGregor ruin his legacy? It certainly sucked for him to go out like that after all that build-up and have that quick fight. But Conor is a spectacle. You know what I mean? There's a list of ask your Dustin Poiriers, ask your Ted Mendez, ask all the guys that have lost to Conor. So I don't think that's ruined his legacy. Then he came back and he beat Frankie Edgar. He then did lose to Max. So no, I have a question for you on this one because basically in the rematch coming up, we know Jose was supposed to fight Ricardo Lamas. He got taken away from that fight. Lamas, I've been talking to him. He may have this opponent. I don't know if he's going to take it or not to stay on the card. But anyway, with Aldo, he didn't use his leg kicks the first time around. He didn't use it as an excuse during the build-up to the fight. After the fight, his coach, Dede Pedernera, said he had an injury. That's why he didn't use the kicks in the fight. And then some people were like, oh, you're just complaining and now you're just using that as an excuse. And they're like, no, it's not an excuse. Max was a better man that night. Jose said the same thing. Max was a better man that night. I'm just telling you as a point of fact, this is why Jose couldn't kick. So my question to you, Alan, as a guy who loves 8-point striking there, how much of a difference do you think it'll make if Jose is 100% healthy here and has his kicks?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to look at Jose's game. Yeah. He is a phenomenal leg kicker, and he is damn near ended fights with using those leg kicks. And so if he's able to land the leg kicks, obviously slow down Holloway, and then that'll put him in a better advantage to land those power punches like he likes to do. I wasn't aware about him not being able to use the kicks in the last fight because of an injury. And it's obviously something that weighs a big part. If your leg kicks, my left kick is my favorite kick, my left kick to the body or something. If I could not use that, not only is that alone a power move, but it sets up my other moves. So if his leg kicks not only do damage, but he uses the leg kicks to set up the hands, that might have been part of the reason why he didn't have a lot of success. But when you look back at that last fight with Aldo and Holloway, Aldo was up, 2 rounds?
I think so, yeah. He won the first ones in my eyes. I think so.
At least the first round he won, if not the second round. Holloway just showed a lot of toughness and grit, withstanding eating those punches, taking them on the chin. Holloway never ever seemed to be out of the fight. He would go back to the corner, lost the round, and he would still be motivated. I remember seeing him in the corner kind of like determined to get it back, get the win back. He came back, put that beautiful 1-2 and dropped him. So we might see a bit of a different fight this time if Jose Aldo can land some leg kicks and continue the momentum of winning a couple rounds. But it'll be interesting to see because Holloway's got good movement. He's a long, lanky guy. He's got great footwork. He's always changing things up. He's not really a stationary target that's going to eat a lot of leg kicks.
Yeah, and Max, is just like I love Max. I love that we're seeing such a young champion, and the dude is already ridiculously good. And then you sort of sit there and be like, oh my God, even if he loses. Like, Max is a guy that could lose the title, win it back again. Lose it, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the great thing about Max is we still have a lot of time that we get to see this guy, which I love. Like, because he's awesome. He's awesome.
100%. When I think of Max Holloway, I think about the new breed of fighters. That's the first thing that comes to mind. He's that guy, the young fighter who's came up in the game kind of doing everything. He doesn't have one specific Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu type style. He flows, he switches stances, he throws everything. He's that new breed of fighter that I think we're going to see a lot more of in the next coming of years.
I agree. I think he's so great. But Aldo has also been working on his boxing. So we'll just see. I think it will be a different fight. Like you're saying, it will be a different fight. Honestly, I really don't know who's going to take it. I find this one very hard to pick with that information, knowing Max did well the first time, but Jose didn't have that weapon. So I don't know about that one. I just love that I'm working that night at the desk. And I'm just like bugging out because those two are both incredible. Also on that fight card, co-main event, this is very important. We know that Fabricio Verdum beat Marcin Tybura a couple weeks ago, and now we have the other sort of eliminator fight, Overeem and Ngannou. I made this argument. We talked about this. That I feel like Overeem has seen everything, and he will not be out strategied by Ngannou. But Ngannou has that raw power that could just blast somebody in the next week. Well, when I think of Ngannou, and this isn't a jab at him, but I'm not thinking about him out strategying anyone. I'm thinking about him just he doesn't need it.
He's just, exactly. He's not like there's different types of I want to say fighters, but strikers. There's guys like Anthony Pettis who's super good, but he kind of tricks you. He'll throw something low, then throw something high. He sets you up. Overeem is probably on that level as well because he's fought in K1. He's fought so many great strikers, and he's been in the Dutch kickboxing world for so long. He knows how to trick guys and set them up. Ngannou, on the other hand, is a guy that just has a God's gift of power, speed, athleticism, quick learning. He's only been in the game for a couple of years. He's come so far. I remember seeing his 1 or 2 first UFC fights, and he was swinging so wildly. And now you see him as a guy that everything's a lot more polished up. He's even like using submissions now and different things that he's learning. So he's a guy that learns real quickly. But I just see him as a guy that's going to have a little bit more of the speed and power advantage on Overeem. And I feel like when he opens up, Overeem's going to be covered up because Overeem's chin has been tested over the years. He knows he can't get in a firefight with Ngannou. He needs to be very smart and technical if he plans on getting the win against him.
And I would imagine that Overeem would have to try to chop him down, right? Work the body and chop him down. Ngannou is gigantic. So it's going to be a tough fight. I did get an interview with Francis Ngannou when I was in New York for 217, so folks should look for that too. He's such a lovely guy. His English is coming along. Talks about training at the Performance Institute, but yeah, he's just gigantic. That fight's going to be crazy. Now, one of the other ones I want to mention, also that night, Michelle Torres is fighting. Tisha Torres is fighting Michelle Watterson. Right, Michelle Torres is a skater. But we also have Henry Cejudo and Sergio Pettis, which is a really important fight for the Flies. But I want to ask your opinion on the coach's fight from The Ultimate Fighter. Now, we know the night before we will have the Ultimate Fighter finale. I know who's in the finale. I'm not allowed to say so yet. But also people should know that, obviously, as always, a lot of the people on the show do also get matched up in the finals, even if they are not the two women in the finale. So I can at least tell you that you will see a lot of the girls on there, and there's some good matchups as well. But the coaches, Justin Gaethje and Eddie Alvarez, are fighting on Saturday. It'll only be Gaethje's second fight in the UFC. He and Michael Johnson had that crazy fight. He then gets the Ultimate Fighter after that. I think this is going to be another bananas fight where Eddie's going to try to start with strategy like he did with Conor and then just get drawn into this other fight. And if he does that, it's a very big advantage for Justin. Yeah,
I feel like this is going to be a tough fight for Eddie Alvarez to win. He's coming off of some tough last fights. Yeah. The Poirier fight, the Conor fight, those. And now he's going against a guy who seemingly has a granite chin. It seems like you could hit Justin as hard as you want. He doesn't seem to get rocked for very long. Right. Eddie is a guy who always gets rocked, usually is able to come back, but a guy like Gaethje who's able to put that pressure on you has underestimated leg kicks. He has great leg kicks. He's not really a Thai striker, but he just wings these leg kicks, full blast, hurts you with the legs. Such a dangerous guy. This is a fight that obviously is fan-friendly, fighter-friendly. I can't wait to see it. If I had to put money on it, though, I'd have to go in Justin's corner. He's proven until his chin is gone and he starts realizing he can't get in these firefights, as long as he has his chin, he's going to be a tough guy for anybody to beat.
Here's one thing I will say, though, and I also hope people, because when we did Tough Talk, the storyline of Eddie and Lauren Murphy came up a lot, and that came up a lot in conversation, but I hope people don't in any way think I'm anti-Eddie, because the guy's always been cool with me. That's just a theme on the show that we've had to talk about. But that's not my judgment on Eddie as a coach at all. A lot of the other girls, other than Lauren, just raved about him and loved him. But I was actually just thinking in this fight, very similar to that gorgeous pool out there where I was swimming laps yesterday. If people remember the coach's challenge, Justin went out there, much like he does a fighter, goes in, goes balls to the wall, swims like crazy, totally crashes out, and Eddie did the tortoise and the hare approach, basically, and Eddie was slow and methodical, and he won the race. Right, he won the coach's challenge because it was a hell of a lot of laps they had to do. But even if you like to swim, it was a long way. But I think it was 16 laps of their pool. And anyway, Eddie, they both had to stop at times. I guess Justin got up and puked at one point, but he never gave up. So even though Eddie had won the fight, won the challenge, Justin still finished it. He still finished it for his team pride. But I do think that could be an interesting sort of parallel as how they approach that fight. Yes. Is that if Eddie is smart and strategic and doesn't get drawn into that firefight, Justin could exhaust himself. It's just a thought.
Yeah, no, it seemed exactly like how the fight could play out. Right. I don't know if Justin, he's a guy that kind of going tired, but just keeps going. Obviously, you said he did that with the swim challenge as well. So he could somewhat exhaust himself, but he is a guy that even though he's exhausted, he seems to still keep that pressure and well away. So we'll have to see what happens. I missed it though. I didn't. What was the deal with Eddie and one of his? One of the girls on the show.
Yeah, he and Lauren Murphy had UFC experience before she even came on the show. She'd been there before. Then she had fought in other places, obviously over in Invicta as well. So she came to the team. And right away, early on in the season, when she even had her first fight, she was kind of looking ahead to the next one because, the brackets are all laid out there. Yeah. So she knew if I beat this woman, this is who I'm going to face next. So she sort of started talking to Eddie about, hey, let's say I'm fighting you, Alan. I know Alan's got, his Muay Thai, but really I have to worry about, Kenny Johnson because he's a wrestler. We'll get to Kenny Johnson in a minute too, folks. So she was already sort of looking ahead, and they were kind of like, hey, don't discount Alan Jouban here. You got to fight in front of you. Don't worry so much about what's ahead. And she, they just sort of clashed on some of the coaching about that. And then also, I think even just when they were in the gym actually working out, she thought that Eddie just kind of brought in his friends and, hey, you guys want to come coach TUF? Here, come on for a day. You'll get a cool bag of gear and, you'll get to be on the show. And she thought that he wasn't honoring the job of the judges as well. I mean, the coaches and what they could actually offer the girls on the team. Whereas I think she thought that Justin's team had real coaching more so.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so they got into some things, and then in the end, it was a little uncomfortable because in the end, when she finally said she wanted to leave the team, she wanted to go join Justin's team instead. Then Eddie was like, okay, fine, whatever, and he goes to the locker room. He's like, hey, everybody, Barb's leaving the team. Barb's sick of it. And she's like, my name is Lauren. And so that kind of spoke to her point that he didn't even know her name and get it right. And granted, there's a lot of girls in that. Whatever, I'm saying you can pick sides on that situation either way. Let's just say they did not get along. They did not gel.
They didn't match. Yeah, it sounds like it.
But
I haven't watched this season, so this is all new to me. But it's very interesting that for someone to want to leave the team because they were not feeling it with their coach.
Not feeling it. And like I said, you speak to some of the other women on Eddie's team, and they just rave about him. So it's really, it just comes down to personalities. I don't say one person in that situation is right and one is wrong. It's just two personalities. And obviously, it's an incredibly emotional, whatever. If you don't bond with your coach, that's not good.
It's a little bit like trying to find a gym that you want. There could be 3 gyms that are all very high level gyms, but you might not mesh with the energy or the style that they do things. Right. For her, Eddie's style or energy, they just may not have meshed together. But you got to be someplace where you're happy and they get it.
Exactly. So we do have one final fight coming up, and that is Roxanne Modafferi versus Sijara Eubanks. And Roxanne was ranked number 1 coming in the show, in the number 1 seeding, and Sijara number 12. So we each get, Roxy is on Justin's team, Sijara is on Eddie's. So we get. It couldn't have played out even better, any better for the last fight. You have opposing teams. You have 2 really good fighters. So people should be excited to watch the last episode of the show. And then, like I said, so that TUF finale is on Friday. And a lot of the girls are going to be there. But we'll have a brand new 125-pound champ. So I'm excited. I think that's cool. That's Friday night. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I haven't followed the season, but I might have to watch at least this week.
Yes, Alan.
Kind of at least get the ending of it, see what's happening.
I think you should. So now my question to you is, and I mentioned Kenny Johnson a minute ago, is Alan, with 2 fights. So when I'm working this weekend, I have a weigh-in show on Thursday for the TUF final. Then we have the weigh-in show for 218, and then all the TUF finale fights on Friday, then 218 on Saturday. That means there's a whole lot of people, Alan, trying to make weight. A whole lot of people. What
are you saying, Karyn, that some people might not make weight? Is that what we're alluding to?
I mean, it's after Thanksgiving. I don't know.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm not making weight. Let's just
coming off the holidays, and well, I guess a lot of the girls that were on the Ultimate Fighter show, they had to make a weight multiple times within a short period. So I was gonna say this is a lot of these girls' first times in the big show, but they've been in the Ultimate Fighter house for probably 6 weeks now, and making weight 2 or 3 times. Right. Within a 6-week span is pretty difficult. So hopefully they have the weight cut game on point. We'll see though. But yeah, like you said, 2 different cards, 2 days apart. I sure hope there's not a lot of guys or girls missing weight as well.
All right. Well, I feel like now it's time we should hear from your coach, because Kenny Johnson of Bolt Wrestling at Black House always has something to say. And this week he had a couple of things to say about people making and missing weight. So let's take a listen.
Hey, what's up? This is Kenny Johnson, Bolt Wrestling. We're going to keep it real with Kenny. A couple weeks ago, I sent a video in. It was too long. It was like 5 minutes, but it's supposed to be like 2 minutes. I got super technical on this issue because it's close to home for me, cutting weight. And what I realized is I got to go 4th grade to 3rd grade for you motherfuckers, because none of you guys cut weight properly. Just like last week or 2 weeks ago, 4 people missed weight. You know what the problem is? The problem is, number 1, there's no ramifications. You give up 10% of your pay. you're only making a couple grand anyway, so not making that weight, I'd give up $1,000 not to make weight so that you can go in there and be heavier and crush the people. And two, you still kept your job. So USADA and UFC, everyone's talking about adding weight classes, trying to figure out, oh my God, we can't figure out how to make these adult fucking assholes make weight. Get fired. How about if you get fired for not doing your job? So let me give you the technical breakdown. If you eat more than you burn, you're going to get bigger and fatter and heavier. If you burn more than you eat, you're going to lose weight. And see, I got this duct tape. This is the one. You just put this over your mouth, you low willpower motherfucker, and then you can't put anything in your mouth, because that's what weight cutting comes down to, how much you put in your mouth and how much you burn. So if you have any problems with anything I just said, then you're probably doing it wrong, and go fuck yourself. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Alan, is he like that at the gym with you? Is he screaming at you like that?
Hey, Kenny tells it how it is. But let me tell you something. He's got the right to be able to rant about weight cuts, because he's been wrestling his entire life. He's made weight thousands of times. But he's a coach that when we make weight, he's in there. He's in the sauna with us. He's in the steam room with us. Every weight cut, I have pretty smooth weight cuts, but I have a lot of teammates that don't. And every weight cut, whatever the fighter is losing, Kenny's losing as well. Right. So James Modafferi, one of my teammates, he used to lose about 20 pounds for his fights. Kenny would lose 20 pounds as well, because he was in the steam room, the sauna, with that fighter the entire time. So whatever amount of weight you lose, that's usually what Kenny loses as well, because he's in there with you the whole time. So he knows what it's like to have to lock the door, hide food, throw away some Snickers or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he does it every single weekend with fighters. So he speaks from experience when he goes a little crazy on these rants.
Well, plus the tough thing is, too, when you look at Kenny, whenever he's with you guys, the fighters, he always posts these pictures of, like, his M&Ms and Coca-Cola tucked into bed at night. He's got the biggest sweet tooth. He's like a junk food fiend, but he knows when it's work time, he knows how to get rid of it, huh?
No, you're right. It's Kit Kats, M&Ms, Coke. The guy should not be writing a diet book anytime soon. But if you need to make weight, he's a great coach to have in your corner to help you get through it.
Awesome. Well, lastly, I know we got to wrap this up. One of the things I wanted to mention from the show in Shanghai, also wanted to give big congratulations to Wang Guan. So he beat Alex Caceres. Now, this is a guy who the first time I interviewed Wang Guan was all the way back in 2012 or so. He was fighting in an organization called RUF in China. And so I've actually known the guy for quite some time. He's been working with American Top Team now. But just want to give him props. Love that he is in the UFC now. I mean, literally, I would Skype with him in Inner Mongolia. It was like insane, but I could tell, we knew that this guy had something. He's obviously could fight back then, but he was raw, but he's getting better. But also good-looking guy, just had everything there to become a superstar from that part of the world. So I'm really, really happy for him, loving that he's starting to do well. And if people want to go back, they can find the interviews with Wang Guan on my YouTube channel. Really, really nice guy. And so that was really fun. And then there was another guy that also was in RUF, Song Yadong, who got another one of the bonuses as well. So those are a couple of guys from RUF. So I gotta give props to them and our friend Joel, who ran the organization. And like I said, we got to know some of those fighters a long time ago. So really excited that they're doing well now. Yeah.
I got to give props to you, Karyn Bryant, for remembering and saying these guys' names correctly.
Yeah, it's tricky. It can be tricky. It can be tricky. But with that said, too, big weekend for us. And honestly, I realized this last night when I was watching The Ultimate Fighter, that it's really, I really do love doing that show and doing Tough Talk and getting to know the people on their way up. And like we said, Lauren, Barb, some of these girls have been around before and we know them, Roxanne. But even still, coming on that show and seeing them evolve on that show and grow into the future fighters are going to be, it really is a great experience. And I know some people think, oh, the show is getting long in the tooth and they're going to do another one with undefeated fighters. I still think it's cool, and I still think it's neat to get to know people on their way up. So it's worth watching. Even like you said, if you have to cram some of these episodes in at the end of the week, it's cool. You should check it out.
Yeah, will do. I know. I honestly, I've watched, I believe, every single season. And the last couple of years, it was harder and harder to keep up with all the fighting and watch Ultimate Fighter. This is the first season that I haven't followed since the beginning of Ultimate Fighter. And it's tough. But I'm gonna try to catch up to it. Don't get mad at me.
I'm not gonna say it's because it's girls or anything like that. I won't take offense. I'll say it's because you're too busy.
All the other women's episodes and I love them. I just, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of stuff going on. But I'm gonna watch it this Wednesday. I'm gonna catch up on everything.
Cool. No, you have a lot going on for sure. Speaking of which, you had a birthday the other day. You had a good time? It was a fun birthday?
It was a good birthday. Thank you. 36 years young now. So
nice. Very nice.
Moving up.
And everybody keeps asking you, what's the schedule for you for fighting?
So I actually, it seems like something's happening. I'm still aiming for mid-January. My manager has been on it with talking to the matchmakers. Yeah. I even texted the matchmaker the other day. I texted Sean. I was like, hey, what's the deal here? And he goes, I just had a conversation with your manager. I said, all right, cool. I'll stay out of it. So things are happening, but I'm in fight camp as of now. I'm training. I'm doing my 2-a-days. I'm motivated. I'm going home to Louisiana for the holidays. But I plan on training during that time. I plan on linking up with guys like Dustin Poirier. Okay. He just opened up a gym in Lafayette I think it's called Diamond Training Center. So I want to reach out to him, go train over there, train at Gladiators Academy with some guys like that in Lafayette. So I plan on continuing my camp over the holidays, coming back January 1st. And hoping to be having a fight real soon after that. Awesome.
Good news. Awesome news. All right, awesome. So on Instagram, I'm H.E.A.T. On YouTube, Karyn Bryant. Also, obviously, we have the MMA Heat channel. We've got some stuff with Miguel Cotto coming up there, who he's fighting this weekend. Wade's got a 360-degree video of that. If people want to see that, that's on the MMA Heat channel. But like I said, I talked with Freddie Roach about George St. Pierre and what's next for him, and also a little bit about Cotto. But we have the scrum with Cotto and Freddie Roach. It's Miguel's farewell fight this Saturday. So if folks aren't watching the pay-per-view, or sometimes, when we're at Fox, we get all of it on together. So it's Miguel Cotto's farewell fight at Madison Square Garden. We also have an interview with this young Irish kid that we'll be putting up. They're saying he could be, the next great thing coming out of Ireland. He's making his debut. He's a boxer, only 18 years old. So that is pretty exciting. So good stuff to look forward to. Where can they find you on social media, Alan?
I am at Alan Jouban across the board. To go back to what you said, so the Cotto fight is that's a Showtime? Or?
Saturday pay-per-view, Golden Boy pay-per-view. It's at Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
Man, I'm going to have to, like you said, find some multiple television
to try to watch it. Fight. The guy's a legend.
Yeah. Good to know.
Awesome. So social media, they can find you? You already
at Alan Jouban for everything, guys. Make sure and follow.
Cool. All right. I am going to go probably swim some more laps before we have to get out of here.
I'm going to go do some jiu-jitsu.
Okay. See you next time, folks. Thanks for watching.
Take care, guys.